Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. It's 11:01, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Um, we are going to be covering staffing today. I'm Brandy and we're here with Danielle also. So we're ready to get started. Ready? All right, so a couple of things we're going to be going over today is identifying an eagle. You always hear us talking about staffing your team of eagles, but we want to make sure that you know what an eagle is and the characteristics of an eagle. Also, if your staff is not trained properly, it's costing us money, so we're going to get them trained properly. And then, who's the leader that's supposed to be leading them? What kind of workplace environment that we're working in? And then, facts behind the good employee who stays and the bad ones who leave. And then, skills for recruiting. So, we always want to be looking for eagles everywhere we go. That means shopping, that means walking the park. We need to be attentive and paying attention to qualities and attributes that we need to have in our spa. We should always be looking to do better. And then the right and wrong ways of training and motivating and leading. So what is an eagle? Here are some characteristics and attributes that an eagle has that all of your staff should possess. So majestic, they're powerful and full of dignity. So an eagle is a kind of bird that's a conqueror. They're an aggressive hunter. They expect results from their young. They're capable of reaching higher altitudes than any other birds. They also work as a team when they're searching for prey. They observe very quietly and can distinguish colors well. They're alive and full of actions with a great sense of purpose. They can adjust quickly and with great accuracy. They possess a great deal of focus and allow no distractions, and they're never overwhelmed by intensity of the tasks, and they don't look past failures. They always finish their nests and are very clean. They struggle and persevere against all odds, and they stick together and never take their mate for granted. They sharpen their own beaks on rocks to make them razor sharp.
Okay, guys, Danielle here. So what you just looked at were characteristics of an eagle. I'm going to go back to that slide just because I feel like it's very important for you to understand. You hear us say it all the time. Why are these people talking about birds? What's going on in there? As you see, if you're looking at the screen, as you can see, a lot of these traits, when you think about it and you hear us talk about eagles, we're explaining what an eagle is here, right? Makes sense, majestic and they're powerful. They're the conqueror of the air. They're aggressive hunters. They expect results. They work as a team. They distinguish colors well. All of these things can be compared to what we expect out of our consultants and our team of people who control the successes of our spas. So all of these can be used for your training purposes when you're trying to explain to them how you expect their demeanor to be, what your expectations are, setting those clear expectations, but also providing them all of the tools and resources that they need to meet and exceed your expectations. This is a direct reflection of your leadership and management skills. So if we spend so much time and focus recruiting and finding these good people, but we don't spend the time to develop them and lead them and give them those opportunities and set what are those consequences, what are those expectations that we're expecting out of them at the end of the day, they're going to just assume it's okay, if I don't get this right this time, I'll just play stupid, or I will, play this to my favor because they're just going to fuss, say don't do it again. So that's why later on we're going to talk about a structure in place by following a plan of action. I, as a consultant, if I go into your spa right now, I should know that if I do something that is insubordination related to my job, I should know what's going to happen to me. I should know what my consequences are this time around. If I don't get my red appointments that I'm required to book today, what will happen to me? If right now you know for a fact your existing team of, if they're eagles, if they're turkeys, ducks, whatever they are, if they can't repeat back to you what will happen to them if they fail to meet or exceed your expectations in a specific part of their job description, well then that's a reflection on you to sharpen your skills as a leader, as a manager, to set those expectations and goals. So we wanted to clarify that. And we're talking about the costs of an employee. This is something, I can tell you I know more about than anything, just because we know how the struggle goes when I need more hours. We need more hours. I need you're cutting my hours back. I need more hours. How do you expect me to prospect? And to sum it up, we'll just go out here on a limb and say, if you ever have a staff member or if you ever hire someone whose focus is on your hourly base pay, here's a tip. That is somebody who will not be an eagle for your spa to provide you with results that you need. Mainly if you explain to them that they can make what they want to make in this role, that they would be little executives, right? You control your own paycheck. If they're still focused on what's the hourly pay, well, you know that they're going to be, the clock eaters. How many, they're going to sit there and stay after work 15, 20 minutes sometimes if you don't have that restriction set in Spa Intel, and it's just going to cost you money at the end of the day. So let's break it down. If it costs you about $8.50 an hour, and that's just an average here. I know some of you might have a lot, your minimum wage is a lot higher than that. But if it costs you about $8.50 an hour to have Susie on the shift for 6 hours today, $8.50, that's about $51 for just one day that Susie works in your spa. If it costs you about $500 per day to have your spa open, now this is, keep in mind, just what an average is on a basic spa with the electricity costs, payroll costs, maybe, something that you had to order, parts that you were financing, equipment, whatever the case might be. Your overhead per month broken down daily would be $500. So on average, if it's about $500 a day to have your spa open and Susie only sells $19 in her shift, what do you think just happened? Well, Susie just cost you some money there to have this spa open for 6 hours, whereas you would have lost less money had you just not been open. So that's something to keep in mind there when it comes to, for those managers on this specific webinar who may or may not know costs associated with the spa that you're running. That's huge. So when you do have to make schedules and you do get your staff that come to you as a manager and says, I need more hours, and you're trying to be the good boss and say, okay, well, I'll give you a couple more on this day and this day, without consulting with your franchisee first, or at least knowing that information beforehand to say, well, you know what, I really can't, but I'll give you an opportunity a couple of hours during your shift to go out and get new members at the gym or at the doctor's office, bring some blank member agreements. I'll give you that because that's really where you want their focus to be. So it's important for you guys to know that as managers and not franchisees. So as you see here, the consultants that you see that live and die by the door and what their hourly base pay is, they always will be penny stackers. This is what we used to call them back in the day. They're stacking up the pennies. They're okay with mediocrity. They're fine with, don't you want to make more money? Well, not really, because I'm in school and I just need to have a job to prove to my parents that I am responsible. That was me when I was a bed cleaner. Or, I only have a phone bill and I have to pay for my books for school. So if they're only living and dying by that hourly base pay, they're never going to push themselves to want to make more money. Therefore, those are the penny stackers. I just need enough to get gas in my car. I'm not trying to make this a career move. And I know many of you feel like you're probably nodding your head to going, I'm totally there right now, or I definitely had some or have some employees that are like that. Just off the bat, just so you know, you're not in that spa 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to be able to control every element of every missed opportunity, lead generation, closing a sale. Therefore, this is what is currently, if you find yourself in this number in your stores, controlling the fate of the business that you invested in, or controlling the fate of the bonuses that you stand to make, spa directors, towards your paychecks specifically. So it is a personal effect of you when you see a staff member who has these traits or possesses these qualities.
Which brings us to our next thing. Our team is a direct reflection of its leader. So when you're leading your staff, you need to think about what you're doing, what you're saying, all of your actions towards them, because just one bad seed can infect and demotivate any employee. If it's good, that's awesome. It's going to motivate them in a positive way. And if it's bad, it could demotivate them. So they're only going to do what you allow them to do. If we spend more time managing than leading, you're creating bad employees for yourself. Then they're not going to be hitting goals. You're going to have to work harder to get them to become eagles. So as a leader, they're watching you. So we should be setting the example. We need to stop with all the do as I say, not as I do. If our staff sees us working that way as a spa director, then we're not showcasing our success. We're not even hitting goals, making money. We need to be showing them what they can do. So we'll never have employees take their job seriously if we continue to say, oh, yeah, just do what I say, and we're not doing the right things also. So we need to stop letting our staff brainwashing us into believing that things don't work. Oh, I couldn't make 12 reds today. Nobody was answering the phone. Or, I asked for names and numbers for the ambassador program, but nobody wanted to give them to us. they're not legitimate excuses, right? There's no reason they should be underperforming. They have goals, and like Danielle was just talking about, they should know the consequences that are going to be followed if they don't hit those goals. They're not a request, they're a requirement. So making sure that we are hitting the goals ourselves as a leader to show our team that it can be done. If they're having trouble, sit down with them, show them how to do it. Maybe they're not doing it because they don't know how. We need to find the problem here and fix it. And also, we shouldn't be walking around with a title. Yes, you know you may be the spa director, but you're there to root for them. You're there to build them up. We want to teach them how to become successful and how to make more money. The better the store does, the better you do, not only as a spa consultant, but as a spa director. So we shouldn't be making them feel inferior in their role. We should be pushing them up, motivating them, getting them to become the eagle that we know they can be. And if we don't see that they can become an eagle, well, then it's time to restaff. So we need to remember the difference in management and leadership. And that's your true role as being a spa leader. So yes, you may be the spa director, but you are ultimately the leader. The best way to self-assess yourself in your own role is to see if you end up being a spa manager. So are you leading or are you managing? Are you constantly having to reprimand people, or are you giving them positive reinforcement and helping them become better? You only manage when you're not leading properly, and that's going to uncover your leadership gaps.
And this is something that, guys, I just came back from a Rockstar tour here in Modesto. I want to share this because I know you guys have seen all of the positive feedback that our franchisees are posting on the Facebook group. You're seeing, quotes that go out in our newsletters of, some franchisees that, let's face it, haven't been to franchisee school in probably well over 5+ years, or conventions that are just completely recharged and excited. And coming back from Modesto specifically, this is a personal testimony I want to share with you, is there were about 2 or 3 franchisees there that when we had this discussion with them, when it came to hiring people, I want to just put this out there that it's first and foremost, when you are recruiting people, just know that when you find somebody that possesses skills and qualities initially, but then they never seem to work out, a lot of times we hear from you guys out in the field, I just can't find good people. I can't find good people. Well, there's one of 2 things that are happening there. And what I'm going to share with you is pretty much what also the feedback I got from franchisees, but also what I used to experience myself. You're either getting somebody that in a previous employer has managed incorrectly or did not lead or mold this person, so you're getting a product of previous poor management, or it is not following a structurized game plan, a calendar, a training calendar, checklists, providing them with the resources that they need. One of 2 things are happening there. If you find that, where can I find good people? Good people are everywhere. And it's seemingly hard to believe, because you might have been around for a while to say that's not true. You can't find the right people. I've been here for 10+ years, whatever the case might be, but it is true. When you do hire somebody that you do see this quality in their interview process, you see that they're capable of it because they're speaking the language, they know it. It's up to you at that point to either take somebody who's been molded incorrectly, manage and lead them a correct way, showing them that it is possible whenever they decide to provide, like Brandy was saying, these, you almost want to call them excuses, why they didn't perform, why they didn't, come through and provide the results that you are expecting from them. When you get in a situation where they're starting to almost brainwash you, and we'll hear it back from you guys, my advice has always been, go in your spa one day and do what they're doing. And if at the same time you're getting the same results that they're giving back to you as to why they're not performing, then you know what? At that point, as your consultant, I will help you through it. I'll train you. I'll see if we can find a solution. But you'll usually notice as a franchisee or a spa director, when you go in there and you do it yourself, you come up with ways, right? You figure it out. Someone's not answering the phone. What am I going to do? Oh, well, give up? No, I'm going to shoot them an email. Maybe I'll shoot them a text message from my Google Voice app. Maybe I'll do other things as well, or write them on Facebook if I'm trying to, specifically point out some members I know will give me referrals. there are other ways to contact and communicate. So when your staff sees you can do it, but they're not doing it, usually 9 times out of 10, you won't have to reprimand them because nobody wants to be the bad employee. Nobody wants to look stupid in front of their bosses. I mean, typically nobody does. So usually whenever you go in there, that ties into leading by example. But bringing this back to a situation where when I went to Modesto, I had a franchisee tell me that. I'm never in my spot and yell. I always just listened to my staff in there. I don't have a spa director, but I listen to them why they're not able to pull off getting these red appointments booked or communicating or ever getting people to book the appointment. Maybe they're actually getting them to contact, but they're not getting people to say yes to an appointment. He's like, I finally just went in there and I booked 8 red appointments in 2 hours just by talking to the 4 members that came in the 2 hours. I didn't even have to pick up a phone. I did it all through email, right? Because my phones were ringing. My other bed cleaner, she was using the phone for phone calls coming through. I don't have a second line. So I was just throwing Hail Marys, and I got all responses. So at that time, this franchisee was able to say to their staff, like, okay, so now I have expectations of you where I don't want to hear this tomorrow, so let me show you what I did today. So that was a management and a leadership, situation that was a perfect example, and I wanted to share with you guys. But yeah, you hear it all the time when we talk about the two, but there's 2 very different things. And look, if you don't possess both of those qualities, some of us just don't have the personality types to be able to be the cheerleaders. I wasn't when I was in the stores, believe it or not. I might be the Monday motivation leader every week, but I was a terrible motivator in the store because I had franchisees that kept me in the loop about expenses so much that I knew we had to pay bills. So I was more of an enforcer and a manager. I knew when I assessed my team, because I thought I was like the most amazing manager in the world. When I found out that I was terrible and they were afraid of me and people were quitting because they were afraid to show up for work because when they don't hit goal, I turn into a crazy person or whatever the case might be. Then I realized, well, I know that this is my personality. I know I'm good at this. I need help. If you can't afford it, an assistant spa director or to hire a manager or whatever, incentivize an existing consultant with maybe something that can provide extra ways to be like, look, I'll give you a little cut of my bonus if you can motivate the team and teach them, this is how you do it, or you can do this, don't say the word can't, don't give up, blah, 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 cheerleader, right? If they end up bringing up their productivity where I'm getting my bonuses, I'll give you a cut of that, as a consultant. I might not be able to give you a raise right now, but there are ways around this to be able to say, I can't be both, but I'll figure out a way to have both for my team because I am tired of employee turnover. So that kind of ties into what you see here. Happy workplace is a productive workplace. Many of you probably heard this before, but the truth is the productive workplace is a profitable workplace. If I fear going to work every day, I'm not going to perform because it's been proven. And this has come from Forbes 500 companies that we've done research on this for. And I remember taking these seminars with specific business consultants that have trained other Forbes 500 companies with the same information. It's when I show up to work and I feel scared, nervous, upset, if my mind is altered in a negative way at all, period, that is not in 100% positive fashion, I am not productive because it's heavy on my mind. I'm not as productive, as chipper. Positivity can turn an employee that has no skill into somebody who is able to have the highest sales. And that is the age-old hire for attitude and not aptitude, because anybody can memorize a script, right? Anybody can memorize a process. Hey, this is how we do things here. Usually common sense, when you hire that, common sense kicks in. But if the attitude is not there of, I can do this, I will do this because I can do this because I will, and I'm going to show you that I can do this job because you're providing me everything I need to do it, and I love showing up for work, then you know what? Everything you've done to staff, recruit, train so far, just throw it out of your window because it's completely null and void and it's not going to help you. So keep all of that in mind. Bad employees are not born. Millennials, Gen X, all these articles you read about how to manage a millennial and all of this is yada, 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 ... over it. Focus on the fact that everybody is born into this world the same type of person. Nobody is trained. Everybody is trained to be who they are. Everybody has personality traits based on everything that surrounds them in their elements. And if you get in a bad employee, they were not somebody that just came to you saying, here you go. This is me. This is how I am. And I was born this way. That's a perfect example of don't be afraid. Here's a tip. Don't be afraid to hire someone with no employment background. I used to love those people because they are moldable. They are moldable little workers for you. They're little warriors that are like, teach me how to work, because they've never had a job before. So it's okay if you want to hire a room attendant or a phone consultant, spa operations clerk, whatever you want to call them, that is like, look, I just graduated high school, never worked before. Beautiful. I will take that all day over somebody who maybe worked at a tanning salon and has tanning background, because then they're going to run your spa like a tanning salon and only sell limited and silver memberships, right? We don't want that. We want a high draft. So just remember that. It's like raising a child from birth. You can adopt the baby who's come from two bad people, but if you raise them to be good, they'll be good.
Which brings us to training. So, like Danielle was just talking about, if they don't enjoy coming to work, if they're not happy to be there, they're not going to be productive. They hate their job, they're miserable, they don't care about hitting goals, they're working on the hourly pay. Those are your penny stackers, right? So, we want to make it fun for them. It shouldn't be a stressful environment. Yes, we have goals. Yes, they have things that they're required to do, but it should be fun. If we have high stress or high anxiety, we're not going over it. It's not going smoothly. So let's set the tone for all of our employees to have fun, right? So we're making reds, but once they start seeing success from making reds, if they're actually getting people on the phone, if people are booking appointments, if they're coming in, if they're signing up and joining to become a member, it's going to make it more fun for them because all their hard work is paying off. So if they're not having success making reds, sit down with them. That's a training moment. Sit down with them, figure out why they're not having success, give them some tips on how to do things differently that could potentially get them some reds. Once they see it, it's going to make it more fun for them, right? So we don't want it to be stressful. Also, we can put together a training calendar for them. So we want to cover all of our bases, and we can use checklists. Checklists are the easiest thing. You hear us preach about them all the time. They're on Orion. We have thousands and thousands of them, but we have thousands of them because they work. We don't just tell you, oh, do a checklist because we're mean. We know that if we give you these checklists and you do them, at the end of the day, you're going to accomplish all of your goals for that day, right? So that's why we use our checklists. So we never, ever, ever just want to wing it and shadow train, right? So we just hired a new employee, like Danielle was talking about, clean slate, awesome. We're super excited. We want to train them to be an eagle. But instead, we're just like, oh, just follow me around, watch what I do, pick up things, learn. We may not realize that we have a bad habit, and then that new employee could potentially pick up on it and start doing it. And then when we look back on it, we ask them why we're doing it. Oh, well, that's what you did. You don't even realize. So make sure that we are training them correctly and not just, oh, follow me around. Because we're going to lose money and staff members if we do it this way, right? So we don't want to keep up with that turnover. We want to have more employees.
And I want to interject on that part specifically. When we say don't just never tell them, don't do a shadow training. Shadow training should only happen whenever you have a new employee, you just hired them on, you're going through a checklist of training them, right? And you're trying to figure out if they're going to make it, if they're not going to make the cut. Shadow training is amazing when it comes to you have a red appointment that walks in the door. I'm going to sit my new employee with my highest closer that has the highest closing percentage, and I want her to shadow based on how that my highest consultant overcomes objections. She's going to pick up on that. Me specifically, I'm the type of learner where I had 2 days of training one time in a sales associate position, and I only got to watch the sales process and how the manager I worked for, how did they go about the sale. It sounded like a conversation piece, which is why a lot of my trainings, it's exuding today to all of you, because it was something I picked up on in her. This is consulting. I see no sale in this. So I'm watching her just talk to this person about their kids, their wife, their life, their, husbands, whatever the case might be. And she's discussing, oh yeah, well, you know what? We have something for that. Oh my God, well then you're going to love this. You know what? I got the perfect plan for you, yada, yada. Here's my objection. Here's how she overcame it. That was perfect for shadow training. But everything else should be task list items. Everything else should be the way that I open, the way that I close, the way I turn this PA system on or the radio on, the way that I know that if I see a smudge on the window, I'm not going to wait till the bed cleaner shows up. I'm going to go there and I'm going to wipe that window down because I got a red coming in, right? So everything like that is, and I just wanted to interject for that because shadow training is beautiful when you put new people together with other consultants on your team that have strengths in specific areas that you want them to pick up on and get the same way with. So that's just a little bit of clarity that I wanted to stress about.
Yeah, and also with shadow training, like she was just talking about, give them a goal in a sense. You know, when we do outside promotions, we're not just sending them out. We're giving them SMART goals, right? I want you to come back with 50 leads. So for shadow training, I want you to watch how she overcome the objection and then role play with them. Use that. Make sure that they're picking up on what you want them to learn. So shadow training is great, like Danielle said, when you have something specifically, but they should have learned it first before we just say, oh, just do what I do, right? So also for training, we want to make sure that our employees don't fear us. Like we keep saying, bad employees are not created, they're born. So we should be their biggest cheerleaders, right? Danielle was just talking about when she was in the store, she found out her employees hated coming to work, that they feared her when they weren't hitting their goals. She was coming down on them hard. Yes, there are consequences for not hitting your goals, but it's how you bring up those consequences and it's how you talk to them. Are you, mean? Are you yelling at them? Are you frustrated? Or are you saying, okay, you know what? You didn't hit your goals this month, but that's okay because we're going to hit them. And here's how. I'm going to work with them. I'm going to be a leader and a manager. And I'm going to say, you know what? You didn't hit your goals. I understand it happens. We're only human. But here's how we're going to hit them the following month, right? So boss fearing seeds, they're going to lead to high employee turnover. And high employee turnover leads to high member turnover. Thank you.
And this next one that you see here, each consultant, how they tend to learn better. Y'all, I'm going to tell you this right now, and I hope you write this down, take a screenshot, hope you're paying attention. This is probably one of the most important things that you'll see here. The number one reason why we fail our employees, our new hires, or whatever the case might be, it's because we assume they all learn the same way. Now, this is a little bit of psychology here that we decided to throw in here because not everybody learns the same way. I just mentioned to you guys how I was taught when I was in the store. That may not be how little Susie's taught, right? Maybe little Susie needs to have a thorough, detailed webinar. Maybe somebody else needs to be hands-on. Let me do it. Let me screw it up first, point it out. Secondly, I'll fix it the third time because I'm a quick learner. Everyone's different, right? So to tie that into the previous bullet that you see about this inferior, don't be too bossy, be a leader. What we mean by that, and just point that out, is you don't want to be too bossy, too manager, to an extent where off the bat you can't be that way, but after you feel like you've done everything. I've asked you, how do you learn first and foremost? So the first day of my new hire showing up at the spa, that's after PBU is done, right? The first day that they're in the spa on the floor, the first question I'm asking is, okay, how do you learn? What is the most effective way that you absorb information based on how you're going to pick up on this? And don't use the same training styles that you did on your previous consultant and just assume that everybody does the same thing. You want to know, as the leaders of that spa, as the franchisees, as the spa directors, ASD, whoever's in charge of hiring. That needs to be your number one question on day one when they show up and clock in. Because that's going to set the tone for all of the rest of the trainings that you have. And here's a side tip for those of you who have existing staff that you feel are, and I know many of you are probably going to nod your head when I say this because I know it's all too real. You might have that existing consultant that's like, they were once really good. They're not motivated. You can't figure out why they're not performing, stepping up to the plate. You can't understand or figure out any of that. Well, going to them and asking them, what's going to motivate you? Finding out how can I get you motivated and asking the question. That way they have to tell you so you know how to in turn manage them. So that's the first thing that I'll tell you to do. And then the second thing that I'll say as a side tip for existing staff, I know we're talking about staffing for new people, but if you have those people you're not ready to give up on yet, consider doing a 30-day employee development program or employee improvement development program, whatever you want to call it, where it's like, you know what, I'm going to take the time to put like a fire rehire structure, if you will. I'm going to take the next month where I'm going to say, I'm going to give you a clean slate. Forget the fact that the last 2 weeks you've not hit goal because I feel strongly about the fact that you can. I just need to figure out how to motivate you and inspire you to do it. If you're in that number, put together a 30-day development program where you are going to assess them at the end of those 30 days to see if they are worth keeping or not before just quitting them. So that's a suggestion that I do want to share with you. I actually stole that from another spa that has worked tremendously. And this specific staff member that one of my franchisees tried this on, has gone from literally one membership sale in 1 month and now sells on average 2 memberships every shift worked. So, and it was based on the fact that that's not only helping develop them, right? You're sharpening their skills, you're putting a focus on them. It's a development program. You weren't ready to give up on them. But B, what is that doing? That to me as a consultant, you're giving me a really great place to work. I want to show up at work because you care. You care about me. I'm not just another number. This isn't just a stupid little job that I have while I'm in school. I take it more serious. I want to make money for you now versus I don't care if you lose money because you're evil. So consider that as well.
So after talking about that, we've given them all the tools that they need to succeed. We're retraining. We are assessing them, like Danielle just talked about. They should know the consequences. So we should have disciplinary action in place. This is a must. We have to get a plan together, and our employees should know it. So basically, the first strike, you, as the leader, need to clear up any misunderstandings or communication. So, you know what? This is my fault. I must not have communicated it properly the first time. What happened? This is a training moment for us. We're trying to figure out what we missed. We thought we told them. Even if we did, we're taking the blame on this one. How can I help you overcome this? Tell me what you know, what went wrong. We're trying to figure out how to help them. We need to be 100% clear that the next strike, though, is going to be written action. So the first time, this is my fault. I must not have trained you on it properly. Let me help you. What don't you get about it? Ask them questions. Uncover those gaps. Make sure that they know how to do it before we leave, because the next time they should know it will be written. So then our verbal warning, that's our second strike. So they've been warned, and this is the next step. So we're going to document it. That verbal warning, Unfortunately, because I already walked you through this twice, I'm going to need to log a verbal warning, and I'm going to document it on your file. And then also, again, another training moment. Help me understand what I need to do to better train you, to help you understand this so we can avoid this from happening again. Please let me know what we can do. Make sure that they know it. We just did a verbal warning. We're going to document it in their file. But also, it's, again, a training moment. Why didn't they do it? Are they incapable? Are they making excuses? Do they know how? This goes back to our eagle characteristics and attributes. Are they an eagle? If not, what happened? Do they not possess it? Do they need to be let go? 1, 2, and 3 write-ups, and then they're terminated. So make sure that they understand the disciplinary action policy so they can avoid getting that far.
Yeah, off the bat, you guys, because that's something that's so important. And that was where I wish, as I learned from all of you out there in the field, like what you guys do, that's all great ideas. Sometimes I kick myself and say, I wish that I was still out there doing this kind of stuff so I could have implemented that. I could have made so much more money or had, so it's kind of, when you look at hiring, when you're hiring somebody and they're on day one, what was one of the things we just covered? How do you learn, right? What is the best and most effective way that you absorb information and learn, because I want to make sure I'm training you and setting you up for success. But you also want to let them know once you are trained, once I do have these expectations of you and you are responsible to hitting these goals that I'm teaching you about today, then here's what the disciplinary action plan is. They should understand that on day one as well. Tying into what we discussed earlier when we said we'll talk later on about this. This should be something that they understand clearly off the bat. Once you've explained to them what you're going to do for them, how you're going to train them, what you're going to provide for them, what your expectations are, then you're going to turn around and say, now, this is just for your information so you know and you're made aware. This way we can prevent anything like this from ever happening. Like we mentioned earlier, your consultant that's clocking in tomorrow to open up should know what their goals are and should know what their responsibility is to the goal. They should also know if they do not hit their goal or if they do something like their boyfriend comes in hanging out on the couch, or if they didn't tell you that a service was down and all these reds are being missed because you can't use that service, but they just forgot to let you know. They didn't send a text message at 2 o'clock. They need to know, well, wait, you know what? If I don't do this, this is going to be my second write-up. I don't want to do that. Like, they should be able to recite that to you if you ask them. So that's something else huge, very important for you to cover on day one of their employment with you.
So we just talked about disciplinary action. So now we're going to talk about how to motivate them to help them to prevent from having to use that disciplinary action. So rule number 1, all people are motivated by different things, right? We've been talking about this the whole time. Not everybody learns the same way. Not everybody is motivated by the same things. So it's our job as a leader and as a manager to find out exactly what motivates them. It might be money. Maybe it's gift cards. Maybe they want a purse, or they've had their eye on a watch, or maybe they're in school and they can't afford to pay their books or their fee bill. Whatever it is, find out what motivates them and then have a goal system in place. So, there's a couple different systems. You have a monthly, quarterly, and yearly. So for monthly, if their individual goals are hit, we can find out at our monthly meetings what they'd prefer as their incentive for hitting the goal. So obviously it's got to be within budget. So give them a dollar amount, set a budget in place for them, and have them work towards that goal. So, money motivates everyone, or it should, but at the end of the day, they're getting their paycheck. They're going to be happy about not having to spend their paycheck dollars on their school books. So they know not only if they hit their goals, 1, their check's going to be higher, right? Because they're selling more, they're getting more memberships, they're making more commission. That's WIFM for them. But also the WIFM there is they're going to hit that monthly goal, and then they're going to be incentivized from whatever we put in place for them. So at the end of the month, she's super pumped and she's hitting that goal because she doesn't want to spend her hard-earned payroll on her books or on that purse. That's just lanyap for them. That's an extra something that we're giving them for hitting their goals, for doing what they're supposed to be doing anyway.
Or you know what? I'm going to just go back to, there's a lot of people that if you would think money motivates everybody, but that might not be the case. I'm the kind of person where if you give me that money, I know that it'll be for my books, but because I really have my eye on that Michael Kors watch, I'm probably going to spend it on that Michael Kors watch, and then I'm going to be SOL because I'm not going to be able to get my books. So maybe it could just be something as simple as daycare. You might have some employees that have kids that have to pay a daycare bill. Just tell them, give me the phone number. I'll give them a credit card number and pay for daycare for, the next 2-3 weeks if you hit the goals for the next 2 months, whatever the case might be. But giving them the credit card number, or you actually buying something for them, going on the website for school, ordering the books for them, because a lot of people are not great money managers. Not everybody are great at that. So sometimes money is not the best incentive for everyone. So that's food for thought to keep in the back of your mind.
And then also quarterly goals. So these are going to be team goals. So each quarter, at our monthly meeting, we can take a vote with our current staff members and see what they would want as their incentive for hitting that quarterly goal. So this would be a little bit bigger incentive. Your monthly ones are obviously going to be smaller. For the upcoming 3 months, they're going to be working towards this. So again, it's going to motivate them, but it's also going to encourage them to work as a team. Right, so we're working on our individual commissions. We want to sell memberships. We want to make retail sales, but it's also going to incentivize them to motivate their other team members, to encourage them to do better. When you have people that are working towards the same goal, it's easier to hit because everybody's reinforcing them with positivity. They're like, you can do this, you got this, you only need 1 more membership sale to hit your goal, and then we're going to hit our spa goal, and then we're going to get to go. Maybe the staff decided they want to have a girls' day. They want to go to the movies and go get pedicures, and maybe that's their goal. So they know if they hit it, they're going to get that goal. They're going to work together as a team. They're going to give positivity to each other. They're going to work with each other. So quarterly goals should be set up also. And then our third and final is yearly. So again, our team spa goals, have them take a vote, what they would prefer for their incentive, and put it in place for that upcoming year, and they're going to work towards that. So if we see a decline in morale or a loss of confidence or anything that can cause a decrease in our productivity, be that voice of positivity. Be the one that's saying, you can do it. We always hear about the little train. I think I can. No, I know you can do it. And here's how. Let me help you. Be the motivator. Be the positive voice. That's going to do so much more for them than saying, yeah, girl, that's just an outrageous goal. I can't believe they set that. I can't believe they put that in place. No, it's achievable. We can do it. Be that positive voice. So attitude makes all the difference in the world, right? Danielle said it over and over again. We hire for attitude. We can train on everything else. If they've got the right attitude, if they want to be there, if they enjoy coming to work, maybe they just don't have the tools. That's our job as a manager and as a leader to instill that in them, to provide that to them. So be that positive attitude. A positive attitude can make the difference in more sales than providing solutions when you're faced with 1,000 problems, right?
So, so now that we've discussed all of these different techniques and ways, once we've, found the people or we have our existing staff in place, let's talk about how you want to get your people to do what you want them to do. Does anybody know this answer? Do you think you know the answer? You're probably going, well, Brandy just talked about it. What are you talking about? Well, here's the real answer is you can't. You cannot get people to do what you want them to do. If you want it done, if you want things done and you have expectations from your team, you're going to have to create that environment in which doing it is more important to your people than not doing it. So where doing it becomes a way of life, in other words. How do you get it to become a way of life? Purpose, goals, skills, rewards, and recognition. Now, for those of you who've been around a while on this, maybe this is something you recognize. This is something I took from one of the greatest, JP used to teach on this and train on this, and we decided to bring this back, that it's important for you to know that you need to create doing whatever their job duties are. You need to make that become instilled in them as if it were a way of their life, and how you do so is to establish the purpose and the goals. The purpose, goals, skills, reward, and recognition. It's all too common that we always dwell on what are our weaknesses? What are those gaps? Let's focus on that. Let's focus on that. Let's talk about that all meeting long. We never really stop and say, you know what? You guys rocked in retail this month, and I am super proud of you. Whatever it is that you are doing, please share it. You know what, Amy, you were the leader in retail. Please share your secret because that's awesome. Here's a little random, $15 gift card to Starbucks. You love to get your little lattes before you come to work. I wanna pay for that for you because obviously it's either that or your superwoman that's making you become so awesome in retail. So share, right? So that's always something that you want to pay close attention to whenever you are meeting with your team and you're constantly covering what they're not doing. But purpose and goals. Everybody has to have a common shared vision. Knowing their main purpose. Why am I here? What is my purpose? If you've taken any of the recent PBU courses, the Rockstar Tours, or Franchisee School, if you've been virtually or physically, you probably know the answer to this. But I want you to write this down if you've not, even if you have or haven't heard it at all, is ask at your next meeting or the next time your staff member comes in, ask them, what do you think you get a paycheck for? This will tell you everything on what is their goal, what is their shared vision. Do you have the same goal and shared vision in mind? Because off the bat, that's telling you, well, no wonder we are clearly on different pages. You think you got to be doing this, and your focus should be this. This is why we're not making money. So when you ask them, what are they there? What do you get a paycheck for? Ask me why I receive a paycheck. Having that kind of mentality, and they need to respond. I receive a paycheck because I'm supposed to ensure that I get customers that come back and visit us again and again. Recurring revenue. That is my job description. How we do that is what kind of experience am I providing and what am I consulting or selling? Because if I see and hear anybody not able to lose weight, if I see people are tired because they had a long day at work and I don't take opportunities to sell PB Clean Energy, to get them into a detoxification service so that we can make them feel lighter on their feet, to get them in a massage, to give them the massage that will break up all of the stuff that's weighing them down. If I'm not taking those opportunities because I know they're going to want to come back because it's going to make them feel good, that's not the same common interest. So that's a really good question to ask them, is why you get a paycheck. And why I get a paycheck is to assure that the customer experience and knowledge and consultations that I provide keep customers coming back again and again. It must be clear and compelling reasons for being that bonds and motivates the people to work together, and you have to set attainable goals. If you guys have heard us once, you've heard us a million times talk about SMART goals. That right there is the A and the R of the acronym of SMART Girls. Specific goals, they have to be very specific. M on SMART goals, that you have to measure the goals, right? What are you using to measure those goals? The lead tracking logs that you have to hold them accountable to in checking every day. Daily prospecting duties of a spa consultant. Not the checklist for marketing checklist for a director, but the consultants should go through a checklist of the prospecting duties and keep up with their call logs. Those are measurable items. Those are tools and resources. The dashboard and spot intel, right? A and R in SMART goals, achievable and realistic. They have to be attainable. Setting them too high when you still have to develop them because they're demotivated and you know they're not even selling now, what do you think is going to happen? That's going to backfire on you, and they're not going to sell anything because they're like, there's no shot at me hitting this. This is ridiculous. They're not even being realistic. And then the T is the most important part other than the S of SMART goals, and that's time-based. Because you'll always hear us say that a goal without a deadline is just a wish. I could say I want to be the president of the United States. You ask me when, I'll say I don't know, but I want to do it. That's not a goal. That is just a dream, and chances of me being the president of the United States is very slim, so you guys don't worry out there. Skills your team must have. They have to have skill. This ties into employee skill set. Don't hire them if on their interview they are slouched over, twirling their hair. They say or like at least 15 times within one sentence. And if you ask situation-based questions, meaning tell me about what you did in a situation in a previous job where you had this obstacle, how did you overcome it? If they have a pause where their eyes look around everywhere else but you for any more than 5 seconds or say before, then they're thinking of a lie. So that's just little tips for you to know what kind of skill sets these people have that you're interviewing to find out who are the eagles, who are the turkeys, who are trainable. What you see here, practice, drill, rehearse your systems, your policies, and your procedures over and over. If you call California 129, which is our West Hollywood location, that you probably saw me post about a gazillion times in the Facebook group, and you ask them, hey, give me the elevator pitch for Planet Beach. If you were promoting, you always want to have that 2-minute elevator pitch, right? To where you can't take up too much time. You're trying to get a red appointment, but people ask what Planet Beach is. Do you sit there and talk to them for 15 minutes at a time? No, you can't sit there and go through all the services, but you want to tell them what your business model is. So we actually trained in their entire staff. If you call over there and say, hey, what is Planet Beach? They will recite to you that Planet Beach is a spray and spa concept that at the touch of a button, their members enjoy a relaxing and private spa experience at a fraction of the cost and in far less time than a traditional day spa. They memorized that because we practiced, we drilled, we rehearsed. We spent 2 hours on that. We went out to get something for a promotion, and we ended up getting a ton of leads come back because they knew how to be quick, effective, and they were trained to do practicing, drilling, and rehearsing with the tell, show, do method, which is the most effective training method out there. Don't want to keep going.
Oh, I don't know.
The skills that they must possess is you must help them with finding those skills themselves. Help them bring it out in themselves. So it's going to unleash the confidence in the team, the harmony, the synergy, create the team power. Those quarterly goals that you set and the yearly goals will help with keeping your employee turnover rate down because they're going to want to stick around for that big yearly goal. The quarterly goal is going to help promote team camaraderie, not that's my sale, that's my commission, she stole this, she stole that. At the end of the day, if we focus on hitting our individual goals every single month, and if we fall short, we have that last man standing that's preventing all of us from getting that goal, you're going to be surprised how those girls and guys come together and help each other out. And it's something that you want to promote. So the skill set, you want to start with the basics. Remember, individual skills will improve team skills. Hey, Amy, you're the highest in retail. Congratulations. Here's a reward. Share what you did. Cross-training your staff builds stability, strength, and team power. I'm not going to sit here and assume I am the end-all, be-all, and I am like the Yoda of running a Planet Beach if I'm a spa director. If I have skill sets in different consultants that I know, she's amazing at overcoming objections. He's awesome at getting an upsell or getting an add-on. She's amazing at getting product sales with a membership sale. I'm not going to sit there and take away from my team because why? You're making them feel good that you're getting that new employee. I'm going to have them shadow you for the next couple of tours. So because you are our strongest key player in this, and I'm going to have you shadow him because you're the strongest key player in that. What is that going to do? We're sharpening everybody's skills because this person's learning that person's strength. You're going into a meeting asking the person that's strong in this area to share what they're doing to the entire area. They're quicker to hitting that bonus, that goal that you set for them, the incentive, and everybody's winning because ultimately what's happening, you franchisees? You're getting the paychecks, you're getting the money in the bank, and you're smiling from ear to ear. So performance goals have to be tied to accountability, responsibility, and uncovering skill sets. And this in turn, the rewards and recognize. Remembering everybody makes mistakes, you guys. Following that disciplinary action plan in a process where they understand clear expectations and what will happen to them on those specific strikes will help you with this. But understand people make mistakes, which is why we recommend that very first strike, even if you know. And you say, Brandy, Danielle, listen, I'm not going to own something when I know for a fact everybody else caught on. Why didn't he? Well, you know what? Maybe that person did not understand your communication very well. It happens in our relationships personally. So maybe for some reason, somebody walked past, the squirrel ran by in that meeting and they just didn't hear that one part. That's why you always want to own it yourself first and foremost. That way you can at least say, even if I know that person heard it and nodded their head and repeated it back, I want them to know that I understand that they made a mistake. So again, this paints out a better workplace. Redirect to the goal or the procedure. Remember, don't focus on consequences so much whenever you talk about here is your goal. If you don't hit it, you're dead. You don't want to keep telling them that, you know? What you want to say is, here's your goal. This is what you're going to get if you hit this goal. You have to sell 2 members today, but you know, here's how you're going to do it. Here's some advice from me to you because I'm your leader. I'm going to give you ideas on how to hit that goal. And just imagine by the time you clock out today, you'll have made X amount of dollars instead of just $9.50 an hour. Telling them what the positive consequences are instead of the negative also helps in avoiding and preventing you from having to play catch up versus, you know, celebrating a win in advance. So, and you'll also get the best results from others, not by lighting a fire beneath them, but lighting the fire within them, tying into what motivates them. On the screen here, we just have a few little tips for you if you want to take a screenshot, take it with your phone, whatever the case might be. But these are just little tips to take away with you whenever it comes time for you to sit down and have your interview process or sit down with your new employee if you're in that number. You know, you can't really motivate others. It must come from them, from within. You just need to guide them and have them reveal it themselves. That's usually the most effective way that we have our spas out there that want to motivate. You can provide an environment that's more conducive to their self-motivation, then you're winning. You're winning that game. Repeated rewards and recognition move people forward. It keeps everything positive always. Catch your staff doing something right. You're always used to saying, I have cameras. I'm going to catch them sitting down. I'm going to catch them texting. I'm going to do this. If you do have cameras and you are working remotely as a franchisee, or if you pop in and you do walk in on them doing something great, like a member's about to go use the Hotbox Detox and you notice that person ended up getting them to buy the mat and the towel versus rent it, whatever the case might be, recognize that, point that out, because everybody wants to feel good and everybody wants to seem like they're doing something that's contributing to a positive reason. That's job security. Ultimately, sometimes we just want shout outs, right? Mm-hmm. So that's something to pay attention to catch things and point out the good things, not just the bad. Call, hey, I seen you on camera. I saw what you just did there. That person that just sat in the lobby, didn't try services, wasn't even a red that person brought in as a secondary red. They just took a ride with them, but I saw you just closed them on an add-on. You know what? Take tomorrow off. I'll pay you as if you were working and I'll cover the shift. That right there is going to make that person do it again. So franchisees, if you're running your staff, first of all, stop it. You need to stop worrying about the entire staff of the spa and start focusing on staffing one leader, one person. When you're hiring, here's a tip. Write this down. When you're posting job offers, when you're posting to Craigslist, Indeed.com, whatever your local job search engines are, if you have sign-up sheets in your spa for members, if you're interested in a career change, whatever the case might be, always know if you can't afford a spa director and you're in that number and you're like, no, I have to be the spa director and the franchisee, here's a tip. Post everything that you're looking for management, not consultants. Here's why. You're going to get self-starters in the door. You're going to get people that you don't have to hold hands with and say, here, let me show you, let me do all this and handle with kid gloves. You're going to get people apply for this position off the bat that want to be management. And when you hire them, you can put them on a development program. In other words, a probationary period. For the first 90 days, I'm going to have you set to be a bed cleaner, room attendant, phone consultant, whatever the case might be. Maybe for after the 90 days is up, they will move into a consultant position, but they can prove themselves and work their way up and say, you know what, I want this management position. I'm going to do whatever it takes to impress the heck out of my boss. And guess what's going to happen there ultimately? If you hire a team of people that all want to do that, you're bringing in so much money that you'll be able to choose from them and be able to place a spa director. It's much easier to manage one person. If you walk into your spa and you see the consultant sitting on the couch with their boyfriend when you walked in, random spot check popped in, you wouldn't fuss that employee. You would then get on the phone with your spa director who may or may not be there and say, you need to handle this situation. I walked in and this was the case. Don't create and establish a work environment that's like mom said, dad said. Right? That's what you do whenever you cross into managing an entire team of people and you have that person in charge. So remember that, because they can go, yeah, well, you know, he signs the paycheck, so I'm going to listen to what he says. I'm not going to listen to what you say. What happens then is you get the person in charge of your team to go, you're stepping on my toes, man. I can't manage. You're setting me up for failure, so bye. You can have fun managing all the bed cleaners and phone consultants and consultants yourself. So keep that in mind. Spa directors, stop replacing for your weakest people. I know that this sounds insane, but you need to start top grading. Top grading is a term we use here at our offices when we talk to our top spas. If you call a top spa right now and you go, hey, let's talk about your staff. Who's your weakest link? And they tell you a name and then say, okay, so who's the person that is the top seller other than yourself? They'll name that person. So when you're doing your interview and hiring, who are you trying to replace? Every top spa will answer the best person. It's not a physical thing. They're not really trying to replace the person bringing them in the most money, but when they're replacing, that weakest link is set and assured to be gone within the next couple of days as soon as they find somebody better, right? That's already a guarantee. But the mentality that you want to walk into in this is you want to step into it and say, I'm looking to replace my strongest, because the only thing that can possibly happen here is I'll get rid of that weakest link. Here comes another strong person. Even my strongest link is going to step up their game, and they're going to get even better. So that's something to remember, spa directors. And remember that employee turnover equals member turnover. So that just about does it for all of our specifics that we wanted to cover. I do want you to take note of this on this specific slide. If you have your phone, take a quick picture of it, because if you need a starting point, if you're like, all right, perfect, I got the information I need, I know what I need to do, where do I start? If you have an existing staff right now, and you might have some of those people that you have faith in, I know that they can do this, right? The first things first that we'll say that we have available to you on Orion is the spa consultant and spa director evaluation forms. Get those printed up, perform those on each and every individual consultant in the spa, even your spa directors. Franchisees, you do theirs. Then the SWOT analysis forms. This is in the management folder in the spa performance folder in Orion. You can access that. Having the staff each staff member should fill this out. SWOT analysis forms are: what are the spas and staff individual employees' strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Have them listed out so you're made aware on how you're managing them. That's when you get that feedback to know, God, do I suck? Am I that bad? Right? I thought I was amazing. Remember my coming to Jesus moment I had that I shared with you guys early on? This is going to uncover that to where you know how to improve yourself. So have that done, print it up, and have them fill it out in a meeting. Then go through the code of conduct. We have it available as well in Orion. It's in Word, so it's modifiable. Always, always, always don't take away. If you want to add, you can, but never take away the bullets that are in it already, and have them sign off on it. So that is setting clear expectations. Then we have the spa consultant training guide, which is also available in staffing and hiring. I think it's in the training folder, specifically in management. So do that. That's a good starting point. And here's what I'll also give to you guys as recommendations. Members, some franchisees and some spa directors have their emotions, their feelings about that when it comes to hiring. Where can I find people to start off with? Members are the best ones personally that I've ever had. I've always had a really great team of people that have come from my member database. When they've come in to use services, they're already passionate about it. You don't have to teach them positive attitude because they're already sold on it. So at the end of the day, if they don't remember how to do what script to use to overcome what objection, their confidence and their excitement about the specific membership they're trying to sell is going to exude so much in their pitch, they're going to close them. Mm-hmm. So that's always something to keep in mind. Start with your members. Have a sign-up sheet. Longview, Texas has this, and I love this idea. I always tell everybody, have a sign-up sheet somewhere visible to your members where it says, if you are someone you know is looking for a career opportunity, a career change, and making as much money as they want, sign their name here and their phone number, and every now and then maybe they'll throw in an incentive, which I think is really cool. And if we find somebody that we bring on board that ends up, making it past the 30-day mark, we'll comp a month of your dues or something like that. So we're incentivizing them. Incentivize your staff as well, because we know birds of a feather, they all flock together, right? So I know I have productive friends, they don't hang out. I'm using this term loosely, so I'm doing air quotes. Losers don't hang out with losers. I don't know if you've ever heard that. So it's the same for the opposite. So members, your Facebook group pages or your Facebook pages to members, we're looking for eagles. We're looking for someone who wants to make whatever they want to make. And also, guys, don't ever forget about your outside sales opportunities. If you have college students, if you have members that are those promo girls that go to those events or festivals that promote Bud Light or whatever the case might be, commission-only employees are awesome. Here's your opportunity to make more money. You sell memberships out in the field, and bring them back for me to just ring up, basically, then we'll commission you 20% of whatever you collect out there if you get an enrollment fee, if not, whatever. So consider these little tips and ideas whenever you're sitting there trying to figure out how am I going to get good staff.
Mm-hmm. And that pretty much does it for our webinar. We thank you so much for attending, and we hope you've learned a lot. This will be recorded for you to go back over if you need. Just remember, a happy workplace is a productive workplace. So use these documents that Danielle was just talking about. Go over them. That's a good place to start. Ask them, what have I given you all the tools? Is there something that I can do better to help train you? See what they know, see what they want. Let's help them. If they want to be an Eagle, let's give them the tools that they need to do that. So also it's important to make sure that I am sold myself, right? So if they're selling people on memberships and they don't love our services, they're not sold themselves, they're not the right people to be selling them. Make sure that they know our services, they love what we offer, and that they're sold, because it's going to show when they're selling memberships, when they're talking to people. So just keep that in mind. That was just some food for thought at the end. But again, thank you so much for attending. We really appreciate it, and we hope y'all got a lot of this webinar. And it'll be posted to Facebook and on Orion if you'd like to reference it later.
Bye, guys. And as always, don't forget to be awesome. We'll talk to you guys on the Monday Motivation Call. Have a great week. Bye.